Hi there, everybody. It's Adam Bushnell, the author. Thank you for tuning in once again on this Tuesday. I have got some work to share with you, and I've got some amazing things to show you on this particular broadcast. So thank you for tuning in. I hope everybody's well. I hope everyone's happy. The sun is shining outside. Not that it does very often this week, but anyway. After this, maybe you'd like to go outside, have a little run around, and then do some of the activities that I've got planned for you today. In the meantime, prepare yourselves for this. This is incredible. I want to share some awesome work with you today. The first thing I'd like to show you is this, which is the most amazing use of a cardboard box I have ever seen. Over here in the UK, people, the Great British public, we're getting pretty bored with this lockdown, and so check out what the Ayres family have done with a cardboard box. They've turned it into a fully wearable suit, and there's even a video that goes with it. Are you ready? Prepare yourselves for this. That is very, very cool. That is awesome. A fully wearable cardboard suit. I absolutely love it. So congratulations to the Ayres family for sending me that. I completely love it. Now, next, Olivia Beardmore, who's age 8, she has sent me her beastified unicorn. She's from St. Godric's, one of my favourite schools. How about that? That's pretty cool. Next, I've got over here, there's a couple of pictures of Belle the dog. Over here, Annabelle Barker from Euston has written me a story about Pinch the crab. Have a listen to this. Once upon a time, there was a little girl called Pinch. She's called Pinch because she is a crab. She is purple with horrible red eyes. Here are 5 little secrets about her. I can't wait to hear this. But number 1, she lives in the ocean. Number 2, she pinches people's arms. Number 3, she cannot swim. Possibly a bad place to live in the ocean then. Number 4, she has one friend who is a shark. And number 5, she has been inside a whale's mouth. She once went to school and sat on the teacher's chair. What an adventure this crab is having. I absolutely love that. Awesome. Great job there, Annabelle. Next, there's Belle the dog again. I've got some worms to show you. Now, if you've joined into this YouTube channel before, you'll know that a worm is a legless dragon. And we're going to have a Viking legless dragon story today on this YouTube channel. I want to show you some amazing worms that the lovely people of Easington Colliery Primary School have sent to me. First of all, there's Kenzie's worm. Looks like a Christmas worm. I love it. Over here, we have a worm with no name. How about that? That's pretty cool. Next, we have a worm who is called Zeez. Not Zeus, but Zeez, with lightning powers. Over here, Killer has created a killer worm. Love that. Then we've got Leighton's worm, breathing out some fire. Fantastic job. Next we have Sonny's worm, who's about to squash an unsuspecting person by the looks of things. Olivia Knox, I'm loving that. That looks like an NHS, thanking the co-workers, NHS workers worm there. You see with the rainbow wings. Love it. Over here, Ruby has created a beautiful looking worm there. Love those wings. That looks amazing. And AB has created a worm there. Is that blood coming out of it? That's pretty gruesome. Billy has created this multicolored worm. Loving that. And Isa Purvis has created this worm flying through those rain clouds. And then Lily has created this worm. Amazing job. Well done. And next, Indy has created a worm that looks like that. Absolutely love it. Tremendous job. Thank you to all of you. Next, this is a rainbow unicorn by Sebastian Lewis. How about that? What hard work he's put into this. I love it. Then we've got an evil unicorn by Jacob, age 7, from Peterlee. Love that. And finally, Killer, that's actually her street name, has created some monsters for me. How about that? Absolutely love it. Some amazing work to share with all of you today. I am delighted. I love seeing your pictures. I love reading your stories. I love receiving videos and the animations and the models that you've sent me pictures of. Keep them coming and I shall keep on showing them. Anyway, over to today's story, which, as I mentioned, is going to be another worm story. We've had the story of the Sockburn worm. We've had the story of the Lambton worm. And here is a worm that I think I've shown you earlier on. This story is all about the Bamburgh worm. Now, Bamburgh is a place that is just off the coast of Northumberland. If you are watching from anywhere below, I live in Durham. Okay, so in Durham, if I were to get in my car, I'm not allowed to at the moment, but if, after the lockdown, and I was to drive north up towards Scotland, I would see a beautiful castle called Bamburgh Castle on that Northumberland coastline. And these worm stories, they are Viking in origin. This is a Viking longship. Now, the Vikings, who came from Denmark and Norway and Sweden, travelled to the northeast of England, where I live, 1,000 years ago, over 1,000 years ago, in the year 793. And they travelled to a place called the Holy Island of Lindisfarne. When they arrived there, they arrived in their Viking longships that had dragon figureheads at the front. Now, the monks who lived on Holy Island, they, of course, read the Bible daily. And in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, it says that the devil would come to earth in the form of a dragon, and it would have 7 heads and 9 horns. Well, those poor monks on Lindisfarne, when they saw these dragon figureheads emerging through the mist, they thought that the devil had come to get them himself. And so they fled. The Vikings, on the other hand, they enjoyed raiding the northeast of England, and they carried on raiding all up and down the whole of the United Kingdom. They invaded and they settled and they stayed. And because they stayed, that's why we now have worm stories, because the Viking word for dragon is Worm. Now, the Vikings were great explorers in these ships. They travelled all the way to the east as far as China, and all the way to the west as far as North America. They circumnavigated the whole of the globe, leaving their stories as they went. And this is one of those stories. A long time ago, in the land of Bamburgh, there was a king, and this king's name was Regal Yennefer. And Regal Yennefer, he sat upon his throne, and he was sad. Regal Yennefer was sad because his wife had died. He sat and he cried day after day. His only comfort was his daughter, who was the most beautiful girl that the world had ever seen. Now, news of her beauty travelled far and wide across the land until it eventually reached the ears of a witch. And this witch was a hideous, monstrous-looking creature. She had one great, big, huge eye that was looking at her smaller eye. She had a long, hooked nose with hair that hung from her nostrils. She had teeth that stuck out in all directions. Her chin was long, and she had a full beard. Her hair was massive and spiky, and creatures lived in it. Creatures like spiders, nits, earwigs. And she also had snot that was running from her nose constantly. She was a revolting, terrible-looking creature, but she knew many things, and she knew magic. So she took her wand and she transformed herself into a woman, just as beautiful as the king's daughter. She then travelled all the way to Regal Yennefer's castle and knocked at the door and said, I'm a poor lady who is lost. I've never been to Northumberland before. Will somebody guide me, and will somebody help me on my way? Well, the king heard this voice, and he stood up from his throne room, and he walked down to the front entrance, and as soon as he laid eyes on this girl, she used her powerful magic. That witch used her powers to make the king instantly fall in love with her. Ooh! The king ran over to this stranger and said, "Stranger, please come into my castle. Tell me all about yourself. We shall sit and we shall talk and we shall eat and we shall drink and we shall become the best of friends." And so sure enough, in went that evil witch disguised as a beautiful girl. And she did sit and talk to the king. And the king, he didn't know it, But he was under her spell. The magic worked and oozed into every pore of his skin, and the king was completely in love with this stranger and said, "My dear darling girl, I, Regal Yenaf, propose to you. Will you become my wife?" Well, of course, she didn't need asking twice. She agreed to become his wife. They were married the very next day. The king's daughter, the princess, was very worried about her father. She kept trying to talk to him. She kept trying to say, "But you don't know this woman. You've got married and you've only just met her yesterday. This is madness." But the king wouldn't be told. The king simply was madly in love, all down to that evil magic. Now, as soon as Regal Yenaf was married to this new, horrible, evil witch, she began to impose a tax on the people of Bamburgh and insisted that everybody should bring money to the castle each day for the honour of living in her land. The castle became richer. The witch became the richest person in the whole of the land. But the people of Bamburgh were starving and were poor. The princess herself, she kept on trying to help them. She went off and she tried to feed the hungry and she tried to clothe the starving and the poor, and she did what she could. And while she was out busy helping, she bumped into a stranger who had just arrived. She said, "Who are you? You just arrived in a boat by yourself?" He said, "Indeed I have. I am a Viking. I have travelled from the land of Norway and I've come exploring. I'm not here to raid, I'm here to trade. I've brought many things. Perhaps I can meet the king and we could exchange some of our goods with each other so that I can take them back to Norway and show my people what you have here in Bamburgh." The princess thought this was an excellent idea. She took this stranger to the castle and said, "By the way, what's your name?" And he said, "My name is Cool Wind. And I have got to say, you are the most beautiful girl I've ever seen in my life." Woo! The princess, she chuckled and she giggled and she walked into the castle with Cool Wind. When the evil witch saw this handsome young stranger talking to the princess, she was furious and said, "Who is this stranger? Why is he here in our castle?" The princess said, "He's a stranger who's travelled from Norway. He's here to trade. He's brought lots of things. He's brought lots of bits of jewellery and he's brought lots of things for us to look at. And in return, maybe we could give him some of the things that our blacksmiths and jewellers have made, and he can take them back to Norway with them to show what the people of Bamburgh can do." "Certainly not. We don't allow strangers in Bamburgh. He must pay some money. Pay me to visit this place," said the queen. Regal Yenaf, meanwhile, just sat there staring at the queen with loved-up eyes. This magic was working better than it had before. Well, the queen looked and said, "Come on then, give me the money." Well, the Cool Wind said, "I have no money. I told you I'm a trader. I swap things in return for other things. That's the way that I work." "You may not stay here then. Guards!" The queen clapped her hands. Guards arrived and grabbed hold of Cool Wind. They tied him up tightly with ropes and chains, and the queen ordered that he be cast into a boat, and that boat should be thrown into the North Sea. That shall be his death. Well, that's exactly what happened to Cool Wind. He was tied up, he was put in a boat, and he was cast into the sea, and it looked as though there was a storm coming, so nobody thought he would survive such an ordeal. And as for the princess, well, the queen was furious with her. But she smiled a crocodile smile and said, "Darling daughter, perhaps we should take a walk into the woods together. I feel like I don't really know you very well, and you are now my stepchild after all." She took hold of the princess's hand and led her out of the castle and into the woods beyond. But no sooner as they got into the woods, when that evil witch pulled out a magic wand from her luxurious gown, she uttered strange and ancient words and zapped the princess. The princess, she felt herself beginning to change. Her skin turned green, but she wasn't turning into the Hulk. Her skin became scaly. Her arms began to merge into her body. Her legs merged into her body too. She began to get longer. Her nose began to push out. Sharp teeth began to grow inside of her mouth. Horns began to rise from her head. She had been turned into a weird. As soon as the magic was taking effect, the queen turned and ran back to the castle, and when she got there, she shouted, oh, my husband, Regal enough, come quickly, quickly. The king said, what is it, my dilly-dilly darling? The queen said, it's your daughter. She's been eaten up by a worm, a legless dragon, and that worm's coming here. We must kill it. Well, sure enough, when the king looked out of the window, he saw a worm slithering its way towards the castle. He commanded that his guards should attack at once, and of course they did attack. The princess was frightened. She meant to blow these guards away, but when she opened her mouth, flames came out and she cooked every last one of them. So the king decided that it was better to hide from the worm rather than fight the worm. It was just too powerful. The castle was locked up. Bamburgh became deserted, and the princess was now a worm. It was a terribly tragic time. The princess didn't know where else to go, so she wrapped herself around the castle, and there she stayed. Meanwhile, Cool Wind in that boat managed to make his way past the storm and bobbed across the North Sea all the way to Norway. And when he got back to his home, the Norwegian people, they freed him off his chains and his ropes, and they said, what happened? He said, I sense that there's something terrible going on in Bamburgh. There's something not right about that queen. I'm going to go back and check it out. Bring me my sword. And so Cool Wind's friends handed him his sword. He jumped straight into the boat and he rowed across the North Sea, and he travelled and travelled until he arrived at Bamburgh Beach. And when he got there, he saw that there was a worm, a legless dragon wrapped around the castle. He was worried about the princess. He drew his sword. He sprinted across the pebble beach until he came face to face with the worm. He grabbed hold of its head. He was about to plunge the sword into its brain when suddenly he looked into the worm's eyes. And when he looked into the eyes, he saw the beauty of the princess hidden there. So instead of chopping off the worm's head, he held the head, he stepped forward, and he kissed it right on its green and slimy lips. Ugh. 3 times Cool Wind kissed the worm, and on the 3rd kiss, there was a puff of green smoke, and the worm was no longer there. Instead, it was the princess, who said, you saved me! Well, the queen was watching all of this unfold from the castle. She stomped out of the castle. She stomped all the way up to Cool Wind, and she had her magic wand. She lifted the magic from herself and revealed herself as she really was. She revealed herself as the witch and said, that's right, I am a witch, and I'm going to turn you both into toads. Cool Wind stepped forward. He swung his sword and chopped off the witch's hand. The hand fell into the sea, still holding the wand. The witch screeched and reached with her one hand to grab her wand, but the waves of the sea pulled her in, and she was no more. The king felt the magic begin to be lifted from him. With the witch gone, he was no longer under her spell. He rushed out to Cool Wind and the princess and said, what was I thinking? I'm so sorry. I must restore this land to its former glory. The princess turned around and said, you got married to that evil witch after just meeting her for one day. I never understood it, but I knew that there was a magic involved, and I feel myself under a spell myself. I'd like to marry Cool Wind. What do you think? And Cool Wind said, let's do it, baby. Let's get married right here on this beach. And Cool Wind and the princess were married and lived in Bamburgh Castle. And when this lockdown is lifted, you can visit Bamburgh Castle yourself and check out the place where the princess was turned into a worm. I hope you like that story. It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Kissing dragons and things like that. Anyway, on my YouTube channel, there is a description of how to draw a dragon, but I'm going to show you how you can draw a worm step by step. And it's so easy that I'm going to do it so that I'm looking at this upside down, not even the right way up. The way that you start to draw a worm is you begin with 2 circles for eyes. They're different sizes, doesn't matter. 2 more circles inside the eyes. 2 circles for nostrils. 2 sad mouths above those nostrils. Then you join the nose to the eyes like a crocodile's snout. After that, you do a straight line, followed by a letter K with a straight line again, followed by a backwards K, and then another straight line. And for the jaw, you need a big letter K. Inside the mouth, we now need teeth. So you put sharp, jagged teeth on the top and the bottom jaw, just like that. And then above the eyes, you need a couple of horns, a couple of spikes with a sad mouth for the top of its head, a couple of diagonal lines. And then if you were turning it into a Weirm without wings, then you just do a couple of wiggly lines like a snake's body, and that's how you draw a Weirm. If you did want wings, you just leave a little gap there. You do a letter K, a big rainbow shape, and then a row of sad mouths leading to its body. And there you can stick another wing behind. And that is how you draw a Weirm. So what you could do is you could draw me a Weirm. You could design it with different powers. But if you feel like you've already drawn lots of monsters and things like that before and you want to do something else, maybe you could draw me a picture of what that witch really looked like. Listen to the description of it. Think about the nose and the snots. Think about the hair and the creatures that lived in it. I would love to receive your pictures of worms and witches. Also, maybe you could write your own story with knights, castles and princesses in. Maybe you can make me some models. Maybe you could record me a video like the Ayres family did. I love receiving it all, so keep them coming. Thank you so much for tuning in. I do have some shout outs actually. Okay, first of all, a shout out to Langley Park Primary School. Hello to all of you. Next, a shout out to Shay. Stay awesome, my friend. Next, a shout out to Ridgeway Academy. Shout out to St. John's in Shildon. I hope you're all doing okay over there. Next, to Gurney Pease Academy. I was meant to be with you this week. What an absolute shame. Newcastle School for Boys. I was meant to be working with you as well. Hi to all my friends at that school. Hello as well to the Fantastic Three. I hope that you're staying safe in that cosy chair at home. Don't go anywhere. Next, to Hutton Henry School. Hi to you. I was meant to be seeing you this week too. Hello to Concert Infant School. Keep on doing what you're doing. Next, to Stamfordham Primary School. Thank you for your continued shares on your Twitter account. And the same goes for Heselden School. Thank you to you guys too. A big hello to Finley Burton and his friends in Mrs. Osmond's class at Mill Hill Primary School. Hope you're all doing okay. A big shout out to my biggest supporter and fan on this YouTube channel, Kai Ming Vo from Hanoi. Thank you so much for tuning in once again from all the way across the other side of the world. And also a shout out to Harriet and Eliza in Durham. You are amazing. Now, I do have a request for you two. Further to the last shout out you got, I would like you to walk over to your dad, to jump on him and to blow raspberries all over him. If you could do that, that would be fantastic. In the meantime, everybody else, remember, stay positive, stay safe, stay indoors, but also keep on sending me all of those pictures and illustrations. If you've requested a live chat shout out, I'll be doing that on Thursday. Any other shout outs you want me to do, just get in touch in the usual way, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or just from my website, adambushnell.co.uk. If you comment on the YouTube channel as well, I do get those requests and ideas and all the lovely things that you've been saying to me. So just get in touch if you do want a shout out. Remember to hop over to Liz Milliam's YouTube channel so you can learn to do some illustrating far better than I can do any illustrating. And join me on Thursday for day 17 of our live storytelling. Not too sure what we're going to do on Thursday. I'm still having a little think. So if you do have any requests, give me a shout as well. Also, Quests in Epica, Chapter 16 will be uploaded on the YouTube channel tomorrow. So keep tuning in, keep liking, keep sharing with all of your friends so that we get even more subscribers and we can be a great big family together. So thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope to see you again on Thursday. Bye for now, everybody, and bye from the worm too. Bye.